All right, everybody, what's going on? We are live every Sunday from 6 to 8. We like to welcome you to Northwest Austin Council. It's your host, DeAndre Rudis and Steve Robinson. The congressman is going to join us later, unless he had business in D.C., which he tend to do, you know what I'm saying? So if he ain't here, please excuse him on behalf of making shit happen for the community, right? So, as usual, like I said, we do this every day, every Sunday from 6 to 8, and there's various ways that you can interact with the show. We got the Facebook, we got the Zoom, we got the YouTube. If you're on YouTube or Facebook, please like, subscribe, comment, because we can see the comments in real time, and that's how you interact with the show. Unless you want to come on the show, then we got a link for you to jump on this StreamYard, and you could be right up here with the talking heads, so your face could be in the camera like our face is in the camera. And if you're on a Zoom, you might not be able to see all of that, but you can see us because we got the views right here in the room. And if you interact with us by just talking, we got a whole mic set up and everything so we can hear you. You can interact in that way too. So it's however you want to interact with the show. We got it for you. Today, as we usually start, let's say, what up, Steve? What you got going on, man?
Well, we're getting ready for the holiday season.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been out and about. I notice people are starting to get out and about as usual around this season. And we got Turkey Day coming up.
Yeah.
In a week.
That's why I've been doing this morning. Today,
yes, indeed.
I was on 93rd and Exchange. 93rd and Exchange.
Yeah, I saw you out there.
With the Black McDonald's Operators Association, WVON.
Good deal. That's a good deal.
The 4th District police officers and other community partners to hand out Thanksgiving. We had Thanksgiving right now, but holiday foods, you know what I mean, to families and things like that, really supporting the community. And that's the stuff that I really like to do. And actually from 3 to 5 was out there with Pastor Mac. What About Us Charities?
Yeah.
There were also some Masons out there, maybe some sisters, maybe they were Eastern Stars. They were out there as well. And the 25th and 15th police districts were out supporting as well, and just continuously doing things for the community. They had a coat drive where they were giving out coats, hats, scarves, gloves, book bags, diapers, whatever, man. It's holiday season, man. It's a time where we really need to come together and support one another, because some family need it, even if yours don't. And even if you don't, you probably know somebody that do. So this is a great time to show everybody what being human is made of and what being a community can be for one another when we support one another in the right way. So
that's absolutely right.
Good work.
That's absolutely right, because that's what we're going to talk about, how we support, but we're going to talk about how we support in a relative way. We're going to talk about relationships today.
Mm-hmm.
Multifaceted, all types, any kind, whatever it takes to be relative to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody has a relationship. They may not think they do. They may not think they have one. But everybody has some sense of a relationship with either relatives, friends, significant others, community, politics, church. It's multi-faceted, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. I think people need to understand, too, it's the relationship that actually builds the power that we need in order to make some changes in our community. So all those individual sources of relationships that you mentioned, whether it was faith-based, it was police, political, social, however you want to look at it, you need an individual from each one of those structures to create power. And that power is what is going to build us and help us move to where we want to see this community move to. But until we really understand the relationship dynamics and the need to support, build, and uplift up one another, we're going to continue to be where we at right now.
Well, you got to look at it. What's one of the root, let's say, adhesives or the root thing that keeps a relationship going? Would you say it's a give and take?
Absolutely.
Say it's
communication, for sure.
Communication. But in any relationship, you have to understand what the rules are. There's different rules in different relationships.
The rules of engagement. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, if your relationship with community, it definitely can't be your relationship with the community couldn't be the same as it would be with your wife or significant other. You know, those are different boundaries.
Right.
But in any case, all in any relationship is all about the cultivation of it.
Yeah.
What you say about that, Barry?
I think Barry going through his dishes.
Hey, I'm not muted.
Oh,
Yeah, definitely not. That's what I'm saying. You're going through the dishes. He clanging the dishes together.
he relating to his dinner.
Hey guys, well, one relationship that I really value is my relationship with the two of you.
Thanks, Barry.
There you go.
Appreciate that.
As always, appreciate it back. Barry Corn.
And I forget whether Steve, you said it, or DeAndre, you said it, but I lost my train of thought.
That's okay.
It increases our power. I'm
Right.
able to do so much more because I'm connected to you guys
Right.
than I could do if I weren't. And I think that's true of all of us. I can do so much more because I'm connected to my wife.
Connectivity. That's true. That's what it's really about. You know, sharing what relationships that you've already cultivated with others, so that they can cultivate from those individuals that you may have already built a good relationship with, and keep it going. You know, that's the key, man, you know.
And one other thing I want to add, which is the stronger that any of us becomes that are connected to each other, it strengthens all of us.
Absolutely.
It doesn't work that the stronger you get, the weaker I get.
No.
You getting stronger weakens me. No, it doesn't work that way.
It's like that picture.
Unless there's jealousy or something that, unless I undermine it for myself.
It's like that picture.
Someone else undermines it.
You ever seen that picture, Barry, where they show people they're climbing up a mountain, and then there's a hand pulling up the other hand, and the other hand, and the hand next to, and so forth and so on. It's all about the chain.
So it was this rapper, I forgot. Matter of fact, his name is Sue Surf. Battle rapper. Sue Surf said, so in a relationship, a lot of times it's about loyalty. So what you're speaking about is when we go up, we also enhance the other person that's with us. And a lot of times that's speaking to loyalty, in my opinion. Sue Surf said the only thing that tests loyalty is time, money, and coochie.
Let's see. They all gonna be around for a long time.
Yeah, but till this day, those three things have tested another person's loyalty to another. Time, money, and coochie. Straight up.
Hey, all of them have some direct correlation, I guess, with each other.
Yeah, but because they all lead to the fall of man in some way, shape, or form, and dismantling the relationship, or they have. Yeah.
Well, how does time though? How does time?
Because people, like for instance, those same people you was cool with in high school, a lot of people like, man, you ain't gonna see them in the next 5-10 years. And how often do you, And then when you come back around that person, the same trust and loyalty not there.
Right.
Because you're like, well, you done had so many different life experiences outside of what I done had that I don't even know if I can really trust you. Is you still that person that I knew 2 years ago?
Right. That's so true. That's so true. But it's odd that you say that, because I was just thinking the same thing. Because I still have relationships with people that I went to high school with.
It's dope.
A lot of them. And I started to think about that. I started thinking, was it because I didn't change or they didn't change, or we evolved at the same time, or we just made sure that we stayed relative to each other, you know? But you're absolutely right. People, when they don't see you, they tend to think that they don't know you anymore.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I don't know what they've been doing.
Yep. Absolutely.
Living life just like you have.
Yep.
Hopefully on the right plane, in the straight and narrow. You know. But that's a good point. Yeah, people tend to have that vision about individuals when they don't see them or haven't seen them. And it's like, that's why people always tend to say, why you don't keep in touch?
Right.
No.
Now that speaks to another dynamic of a relationship, is the keep in touch part. And I can speak from a position of being a person who does not keep in touch with others that well, but when meeting up with those people, it's like we never parted. It's like it's all love, right? Because we bring that type of energy to the relationship.
Right.
But there are others that, the expectation is if you don't talk to them, within a certain amount of time or so much time passed, it's like we're not there no more, And so being a person who is on the opposite side, who don't really hit people up that much, I'm always like, look, the love is always there unless I said it ain't, or unless you said it ain't. I just look at it that way. But some other people don't take relationships, and even that leads to deterioration as well.
And even to break it off just by saying it like that is kind of ridiculous, our relationship is no longer. For what? What is the reason? Not just saying it. There has to be some underlying or issue that would bring it to that. But now, something that you just said when you were talking about, keeping in touch. Mm-hmm. And I was just thinking about myself. On a daily basis, I talk to probably minimum 4 to 5 people from the community. Mm. Minimum. Whether it's about an issue, whether it's about they had a question, or they just want to fill me in, or they they checking on me and I check on them. It's one of those things where, especially when you get older, mm-hmm. A lot of older individuals, they want to check in, and I don't mind. I check in with them, they check in with me. But I can say, in my lifetime, and I used to say, I've been saying this for over 30 years. I won't say 30 years. I'll say at least 25 years. I've always said to myself, I met some great, good people mm-hmm. in my lifetime. I met some really good people and cultivated some really good relationships. Actually, the relationship that I have with Congressman Danny K. Davis, I got that relationship from another relationship through Miss Leola Spanier, who used to be the president of Northwest Austin Council and the executive director. She was good friends with him, so it kind of piggybacked.
And speaking about relationships, I always like this quote and I don't know if it's attributed to Bob Marley. I don't know if it's Bob Marley that actually said this, but he said, you can always forget what a person did for you, but you'll never forget how they made you feel. So when it comes to the relationship, what do you think is more important? The feeling or the, or the act? What do you think holds more weight, especially in communities like the one we come from? Is it the act of doing or the way you make that person feel?
I think it's a combination of doing to make them feel a certain way. Mm-hmm. It actually is. But again, your relationship, and we always say relationship just like we say attitude. Oh, you got an attitude and we got a relationship. Well, attitude could be a good thing or a bad thing or a middle ground thing, just like a relationship. It could be a bad relationship. It could be a good relationship. It could be where is this relationship? Uncultivated. But back to what you're saying, people tend to remember a person by how they walk the walk and talk the talk. Mm-hmm. That's what I think people tend to remember. They remember you in a good light, a bad light, and that's it. Either in a good light or a bad light, and hopefully
ain't no in between, huh?
Ain't no in between. They gonna remember you like that. And it's up to the individual. I remember you used to say your first impression could be your very last impression. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot to that. Again, relationships. Look at Tamika out there. We met her. We cultivated a relationship with Tamika.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and what was it? A summer ago? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What you say, Tamika?
Can you turn it down? It's been about a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 2020 for sure.
How you been?
I've been fine, doing a lot of babysitting, so therefore I'm not as active as I normally am.
Yeah.
That I normally am.
Right.
So
That's a different kind of relationship, also. That's a nurturing.
the relationship,
Yeah.
the relationship with family is one of the most serious relationships you have because you don't get a chance to pick and choose who's your family members and how
Facts.
they behave or react to
Facts.
whatever you're doing in life or your goals. So, you know, as I was growing up as a young person, I was like, oh, the best thing you can do for your family is to be supportive. But what do you do when you're the one that's always supportive and nobody wants to support you the same way that you support them?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's you know, we said earlier is our relationships based on give and take, you know, or do you bring your A game and the other person brings their B game, or they bring their A game and you bring your B game? And you know, I think it is what it is. Whatever you bring to the table it should be accepted. You know, even if and I understand a lot of times in family dynamics, people tend to say, well, they don't never do this and they don't never take care of that.
Mm-hmm.
But we already know that.
Right. Why you depending on that person?
Right.
Play to their strengths. Maybe that's the person that
Right.
you can call to for advice. But
Exactly.
you know you ain't gonna get them out the house though.
Right. You're gonna get a nickel out of them when it comes down to
Real.
pitching in. So it is what it is. But you know what? Hey, they might be the person that come up. They're always there to have to do the pickup work, you know, whatever.
Right.
You know, hey, as long as the rules of engagement and how it all unfolds with a relationship is understood, I think people good with it. You know, they might try to equal the plane. Oh, they didn't do, yeah, you know, hey, that's about dynamic. That's about, what do you call it when a person's up? That's a person's personality.
Mm-hmm.
It's their personality. And ain't much you gonna do about changing grown-ups' personalities.
To Tamika, I remember one of my mentors said that, and it really put things in perspective for me, where she said that we can't choose our family, you know, so we gotta love them, you know, the good and the bad, however they are, we gotta love them. But that does not mean we choose how they treat us. I mean, we we allow them to treat us any type of way, and and we accept that. You don't have to be accepting.
Right.
Be loving, but not accepting of any type of treatment.
Right.
You know, and then if something is a way and you feel a way about it, you got to speak on it. You know, and if it doesn't change, or if a person is readily admits, like, you know, I'm sorry, that's just not who I am, then you recognize them for who they are, and you love them for who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And when she told me that really set a different type of precedent in the way that I think about my family, because just like anybody, oh man, why they not doing this? Why they don't do that? Why, you know? And it's just like, well, that's understandable. That's not what they are accustomed to. They don't know, and you know, far be it for me to hold it over their head that they don't know. And just accept them for who they are, love them for who they are, keep it moving.
I think it's the root of what we deal with in community today. If you have a dysfunctional family, and you have another dysfunctional family, and another dysfunctional family, another on a block, you're gonna have a dysfunctional block.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of hard to say you're gonna have a well-functioning block, and then that's the next thing. What's relative to being a well-functioning block?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think one of the most important things in having a well-functioning block is communication, and then safety. Anybody out there have any comments? We want to share the opportunity to.
When it comes to trying to relate to your neighbor, you know, everybody has their own upbringing, and even generation differences will change the way people communicate. So, what I'm finding in life in general is that when you engage with people outside of your household who communication style is much different than yours, sometimes it just don't work out and you don't even know what your next step should be. You know?
True.
Like I know in my generation we took accountability for what we did wrong for whatever reason.
Right.
But I come to find that in younger generations, they will never admit when they're wrong. And they will stand by their perspective without even taking yours into consideration.
So you said the younger generation is a lot more disrespectful now, is what you're saying?
In my opinion. At times.
I don't want to say it's
I don't
disrespect.
say all the time.
Yeah.
I won't say it's disrespect. I just think that wrong to them just means there's a reason to go to another direction. You know, if you say, hey, that's wrong. Well, you know, I got an excuse.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is, you know, in their minds, they don't think of it as being wrong. They just think of it as going to the, you know, plan B.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to say a whole generation of people just kind of.
Well, no, I get what you're saying. I mean, it's no different than a relationship with your spouse or significant other, and they ask you, why did you do what you just did?
Mm-hmm.
And you have a response for them. And sometimes they don't take the response like, nah, that couldn't be it. And I might just be speaking for myself. But yeah, that was it. That was the reason. I'm telling you the reason why I did it. You know, now, again, when we go back to loving and accepting, you don't have to accept what I'm saying as true. You know, but if we together, you gotta love me for who I am. And if you don't, then we shouldn't be together, right? And that's kind of the thing with relationships and community. You know, and you don't have to accept, the differences. You do not have to accept anyone for their disrespectful ways, but trying to reach some type of understanding where you could continue to love on them. That's where the difficulty comes in at. And so to the question Alexandria asks, how do you respectfully tell a neighbor they're dysfunctional? Well,
no, I don't think you have to even, you don't have to tell them that. You have to show them the path of what's functional. You know, you have to have enough examples around them so they can see and go, wait a minute, why are these people putting their garbage in the garbage can out back? And we just throw ours on the front.
Yeah.
You know, and there are some blocks, some neighbors that with a block, they make signs and tell you.
Yeah.
You know, they tell you, we do not throw trash on the ground on our block. We do not have loud noise and music on our block.
Right.
So I mean, the sign speaks for itself.
I do think those, like you mentioned, all of those things are strengthened if you have a block club, because at some point people will get the understanding of how the entire block is conducting themselves, and then they see that we look different than these guys. But I will say this as well: there are a lot of people who feel that their differences is what makes them unique. So even if they're being dysfunctional, they may look at it and say, "Oh, well, that's just the way we do things." Though,
right?
They may do things like that, and that's where the difficulty comes in. That where you do try to explain, like, well, that's not how we do things around here, you know. But hey, we all unique, and everybody wants to be an individual, you know.
But even who's that? We got called.
No, that's it.
Oh, okay.
You know, so it's a weird circumstance in the community where we try to build relationships by being as respectful as possible, and still may not reach what we want to accomplish because of that.
You know what? I think when that's what Alexandra, when she asked the question, I guess you can't. It's all about approach. You know, if you come at somebody and say that ain't how we do this over here, now that's a little bit, you know, that's a little aggressive.
That's aggressive.
You know, that's a little aggressive. It's like, well, you know, but you can say, you know, I guess you can kind of phrase it in the sense of, hey, you know what? Have you noticed this? Or are you sure of what's going on? You can kind of ease your way into it to kind of see if they understand, And and then if they do understand, then you could kind of back off a little bit and go, well, they got an understanding. Then you kind of make it into, well, maybe there was a mistake that was made.
Mm-hmm.
Did you make a mistake or something? Whatever the issue may be.
So you got to play a bit of psychology now.
Yeah, but
play some mind games.
yeah, you gotta work your way into it and around it.
Yeah.
But if they're just being blatantly, belligerent about things, then that's a whole nother approach, But you always want to minimize the aggression and try to segue your way into the situation to make people feel included, however that may be. And sometimes you got to notice what they like. If a person on the block likes, I don't know, maybe they got a flag in front of their house and you know what the flag is, and you're like, hey, that's an interesting flag. I got one like that too.
Right.
Or you got kids, man. I got kids too. What school they go to, this, that, and that. So it's all about, again, trying to find
I was always taught, like, during interviews, that's what you do. Take a peek around the room, see if a person's alma mater or something. Right. Bring it up. Oh, man, you went to UCLA? You went to UCLA? Oh, I love the Bruins, man. They got the best basketball team I've ever seen. Now y'all get the whole interview sidetracked because this guy talking about his alma mater. By the time y'all come back around, 30 minutes done passed, and he think the world of you because you just being observant. And I do think that can work for neighbors as well, where you take a look at the house, the windows, like I say, flag, look at the flowers, Oh, you like chrysanthemums, huh? It's one of my favorite flowers, and then you go from there. Like you said, you catch essentially a hook, line, and sinker type of method, right? There's your hook, is the thing that you can find possibly in common with you both. Reel them in with the line, you get to talking about it, having a conversation around that, and then you sync them with the fact that now you're in the inside, you just start to build a better relationship. So now you can start to talk about where the dysfunction may lie. So it does take some cunning. It takes being essentially a bit manipulative in the approach, but I mean, in some respects, that's what you got to do if you want to make forward progress with these people.
Yeah, and I think sometimes children kind of open the gate to kind of building.
Absolutely.
You got a lot of people out there just don't like kids either,
Yeah.
But I remember Mark Leeson, Barry's friend, a friend of ours, he said that if everybody walked around with a button of how they used to look when they were a kid and just wore it every day, you would see that person in a different light. Because no one looks at it as an individual as ever being a kid, and an innocent being. And when you see that person as in their innocent state, it tends to lessen your aggression, your suspicions, your fear of a person.
Something I saw on Facebook that reminds me of that is I saw this girl post that being here on Earth in this physical existence is everybody's first time. So people are going to make mistakes. They're going to do things wrong. And we should always look at it as if this is this person's first time inhabiting this form. And they're just only trying to navigate life the same way we have. So when you start to put that in perspective, it makes you think about the world differently and how you approach people. Because that is absolutely the case. This is everybody's first time here. We don't know what we're supposed to do. We don't know why we were given the breath of life other than being able to wake up every day and go to sleep every night and do that over and over again until we get old and saggy. You feel me? And in the middle, we'd be lucky to find purpose. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like everybody is living that very same existence, not knowing if they're doing the right thing or the wrong thing, but just knowing that They got to fulfill their days between waking up and going to sleep.
Yeah. But again, is there anybody else out there that want to share what relationship means to them? Anyone?
Just Ryan.
What's happening?
What up, Ryan?
What you know good,
Not
bro?
too much, man. I'm enjoying the show, man. But just to answer your question, Steve, what relationship means is just a union and working together.
Right. You're right. It's like an engine on the train and the cars.
Yeah.
Working together. One hauls, one pulls, one carries the supplies of the passengers. Yeah, that's true. It's some form of a union. Yeah. I wish we could get this whole country to relate.
Yeah.
Isn't it saying, what does it say? In order to form a more perfect union.
Yeah. That's how the preamble starts.
We need relationships. That's what we need. We definitely need relationships.
Oh, but I have a question. DeAndre, you said it's 3 things that like ruin marriage. You said time, money, and what was the
Time, money, and coochie. those are 3 things that test loyalty. Time, money, and coochie.
And for those that don't know.
Okay. That's what I thought I heard, man. That's what I was saying.
Oh, yeah.
You're right on that point.
No, that's a fact, though. Yeah, no.
A lot of good relationships.
Man, a lot of them, man. A lot of them. For no reason, too. Because, now I get the time part, right? Because we can't get that back. But the other 2, it's like, come on, man. Come on. Like, over that? Man, but hey.
But that's a relationship also. Money, how you relate to finance and money.
That's a fact. Yeah.
I mean,
that's a fact.
If you just use it just frivolously and you just kind of like, it comes, it goes, it's I don't have it, I get it. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. I mean, it can work that way, but it won't be very functional.
Yeah, I think, and that makes me think about how people say, you got to change a relationship with money in the sense that, the majority of us utilize our time as a resource to make money, right? And then it's not until when you shift your mindset around making money in your relationship with money, and usually that entails having your money make money for you in some way, right? Thereby creating passive income. Do your situation change, and you now allotted more time to do things that you want to do, and so that's what that made me think about when you say the relationship with money, and how we do get so bogged down in trying to chase a dollar, so to speak, that we forget how to maintain that dollar, and then how to sustain it to where it's continuously making another dollar without us having to put more of our time into chasing it. You know what I mean? And that's important too, because when you have more time for self, you have more time to do a lot of things, including build better relationships.
Right.
So that matters.
Yeah.
So since you guys are, DeAndre, you said money and Gucci, right?
Time, money, and coochie. Yes, sir.
Right. So
I'm gonna put it on the screen.
That's important. And you follow that saying, how did you put it? You want to make more money so you have more time.
Right. You have your money. Yeah, you have your money make its money.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you have your money make its money, so that you can have more time to do other things that you'd like to do. And that's the same thing that anybody in multi-level marketing would approach you about. They'll say the same thing. That's all.
Right.
I'm not saying anything different.
Yeah, so I wanted to pose an alternative to that.
Yeah.
Which is to look at time as money, and to see the money in a situation like that as a flow that circulates. So the idea is not to spend your time to get more time, but it's to be part of the flow.
Right. Let the flow
And
glow.
it seems to me that the capitalist system, where you make, when you want the money to make money, is becoming increasingly dysfunctional and excluding people. Whereas people need each other and can help each other. And then your purpose in life becomes much simpler. It's to be of service to others.
I think
somebody got their TV on.
yeah, I think that's
Who is it?
I'm not sure.
Barry.
No, I don't think that's Barry. So
That's all good.
I do think that I think that's a challenging proposal. Only because I think that's a challenging proposal. Only because, come on, what is coochie? What you mean?
Okay, let's
Everybody stuck and hung up on coochie, man.
let's
Every time you guys say it, I just bust out laughing.
well, let's say for
What
what
is that asking for, friend?
I had to think about that. I had to think about when DeAndre said that, because I was thinking that when it came to, let's just say women, and I was thinking about countries that were run and ruled by women. Did they have issues with men? You know, did the demise of that country come from the rule of women having issues with men? And in most cases, that was not the case. If you go back to England, if you go back to India, if you go back to Spain, if you go back to a lot of countries that were run by women, the issue didn't come into play about men or another woman. So, I mean, there's some validity to it, but it's mainly because of the control. That's what I think.
Money? You think money is
No. When you said money, time, and women.
yeah, right?
That's in relationship,
Yeah.
in relationship to men, right?
Right. Oh yeah. Oh well, yeah, for sure.
Or any relationship. It could be.
But I mean, women. I mean, hey,
you know. Go ahead, Dan.
Let's be real grown up, okay? Let's just say it's money, time, and sex, okay? Because I mean, I think it's demeaning to women to say coochie or to just limit it to women. Okay, we're all human beings, and so let's start with that premise first. Level of playing ground.
Right.
Okay. Then after that, I'd just like to say that for people to say, money can't be the end of it all. No, it can't be. But the people who have money normally take that position, and that's not the majority of the population.
right.
But if you make money the thing that makes you tick, then everything else suffers. If you make money the most important thing to you, I don't care if you're making $7 an hour or $15 an hour. Human nature is there is never enough money. And so therefore your other relationships with your family, with your spouse, or your girlfriend or boyfriend, whatever, will suffer.
Everyone on that chair. Everyone on that
Very well put. Money, time, and sex. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's limited because I do think that creates dysfunction in a lot of relationships going both ways. You know what I mean? And speaking to like what Diane was saying about the amount of money, the one thing that I've always recognized about money, like again, when we talk about relationship, it's just how you think about money, right? Like the adage is the love of money. right, is the root of all evil. It was never like money was evil or that money was the source of our problems. It's the love of the money, right? The relationship again that you have with it. Mm-hmm. So I think that if we could get to a space where money wasn't as necessary, then yeah, I think people would love to serve one another. But we are already in a space where money dictates who gets to do what, when, where, and why, and how. And I just think that we need if we need more people of pure nature with money. And I think a lot of things could be changed. For real. So now, Barry, I don't disagree with you, but I'm definitely saying I'm on the money side. I think we need to get some more money in the right people's hands.
It's in the right people's hands.
For real. Yeah, I think so. I think so.
I'm still a little confused about the timing.
Do you think?
Go ahead.
Do you feel like, since we were talking about money, do you feel like society's relationship with money is rooted in dysfunction and rooted in greed? So is it even possible for somebody to, like the right person, to get money? You know what I mean?
Yeah, get some money and not become an egomaniacal billionaire ready to take over the world. Like Jeff Bezos did. Jeff Bezos, man, back in the day was the most unassuming person ever, man. That man got a little bit of bread. He got that bald head. He got a big physique on him. Now he want to take over the world, man. Like, this man became Lex Luthor, man. Like, what the hell?
I remember the first time.
He really did, though. He became Lex Luthor. No, but for real, though,
I think I think that was his whole stride when he first started with the Kindle and the Nook. I think he started that, and he was saying the next thing I want to do more. I saw him on Oprah show when he first came out about 20-some years ago, and I was like, this guy talking about doing more than just changing books over to ebooks.
Yeah,
and he kind of said it then,
Yeah, so I think what Raheem is saying is that, once you start to build a base and you start to get some money behind it, like, and because a lot of us are always thinking, what can we do differently? What would we do differently? What could we do more of? And in thinking so, probably are thinking, you know what, if I had some money, I would do this. I would change this. I would propose this. And then you start to do that. And now you have the resources behind you where you're like, yeah, I could do that. I think this makes sense. This makes sense to me. So the whole world must feel this way. Not thinking that, it could be actually to the detriment, because it's just like, this is what I've always wanted to do. I wanted to see this come to life. So I have the resources and I'm going to make it come to life. So, I do think if you're a pure person at heart, you could figure out how to do and to give in a way that is beneficial to everybody. Like, right? Like, you make me a billionaire today, I'm gonna figure out how much I give to the community to make sure that everybody is on a even playing field. Because we got it like that. You know what I'm saying? Billionaire, because it's gonna come right back. That's my whole thing. It's like, we have enough money circulating throughout the world where we can end all of the things that we have a problem with, including climate change, including pollution, including hunger, including homelessness, but we just choose not to.
Violence.
And that's just because the people that got the money just choose not to do it because they have it. You know what I mean? And I don't know, maybe they don't want to lose a few billion. Who knows? But I mean, we could eradicate everything in the world.
But we're talking about money in the sense of having it. What about money in the sense where you don't have it?
Oh, you in survival mode. You can't even think about having money. You don't even think about what you're only gonna think about the very next thing that's going to be able to satiate your hunger. You know what I mean? Whatever that hunger may be, whether it's because your ribs touching and you need to figure out how to get some food, or it's because you got an addiction, you need to figure out how to get the next high or something. So if you if you're in struggle mode, only thing you're gonna think about is what I need to do to get to the next point that I'm trying to get to. You can't think about nothing else.
But let me ask you this: if you struggling and I'm struggling, and we struggle together, can we all come up? Can we both come up? Or does that ease the pain of that hunger? Does that ease the pain of that struggle?
Yeah, I mean it should. I mean it theoretically should, but it depends on what type of people we dealing with, because now again, this is where that comes back into play with time or money, because over time, what if one of us becomes gainfully employed and changes our whole life and the other person doesn't?
Mm-hmm.
Now are you jaded because of the fact that I've made it, you know what I'm saying? Or do I look at you as a different person because now you're not on the street with me? You know
what? It goes back to relationship. And the reason, let me tell you why I think of this. I go back almost 40 years ago when me and my wife first met. And we have a lot of money, we didn't have, we had little to do things that we could do at 17, 18 years old, but we didn't have money. We didn't come from families that had a lot of money. But the thing we did have was the hustle together. We in the trenches together.
Right.
We're gonna come up together over time, And I think if you can, and it kind of goes back to what Barry's saying, if you help a person that's shoulder to shoulder with you, you're more than likely gonna help yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You just can't be selfish about it. You just can't be selfish, because when you put selfishness in the mix of things, it causes dissension, it causes all these other things. And then to go back to what Diana says, if sex is involved, now that's all blown. That ain't gonna happen. And it's all about time and cultivation, time and a mission, time and a communication.
Mm-hmm.
What was anybody else saying? Because it really is, I mean, I've known DeAndre, since 2016, 15,
yep.
something like that,
Mm-hmm.
going on almost 7 years. And it was, somebody tried to say something about him the other day, and I was like, no, that's not him. That is no way his personality, his being, his thoughts. And I can say that because I've been in the trenches with him. He's been in the trenches with me. And I know his direction would not follow what this person was saying, would be him,
It's a fact, man.
So,
holla at me, man.
You gotta, it takes, every relationship takes time,
Come holla at me. I'm a young bull. I get it. I'm a young bull. I'm gonna say some things that you ain't gonna like, but all you gotta do is holla at me, though.
It's time. It takes time, right, Barry? Way to go. No, it really is about time. Relationships about. Look at Barry.
When it comes to DeAndre, people have to understand that he doesn't really open himself all the way up. At times he can be closed off, but that's just who he is for the moment. Once he gets to know you, his
real talk.
Behavior is totally different.
Real silly guy, actually.
In my opinion.
No, I mean that's true though. But I think that's part of coming from when I'm from the hood. That's how we are. We gotta see who he is. We gotta make sure you got a good count of your character and the type of person you really are, and then we can really show us who we really are. Like, I'm a silly person in real life. You know what I'm saying? I just like having fun. I'm a happy guy.
I'm gonna tell you what speaks to building a relationship also. Like I said, Barry said earlier about connectivity and connecting people. I ran into this guy two New Year's Day on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day at a New Year's party, and the guy, we started talking. He said, "Oh, I went to Austin High School," and lo and behold, at this party he knew DeAndre, and he's like, "Oh, twin." I'm like, yeah. He said, oh, yeah, I know twins. I know them. I'm like, and what does that mean? But he couldn't really say nothing bad about him.
Right.
He couldn't really say anything bad about him. He's like, man, he was in his books and, but his people, And I'm like, okay, so that he had some credibility. Although the guy was kind of like, he had to really kind of put it into perspective,
Yeah. See, I can't say what I want to say, but yeah. I mean, that's just what it is, though.
Right.
I mean, I think that's one of the things that I pride myself on. I've never been the person who treated, or at least I have never tried to treat anybody differently than I would have wanted them to treat me. So I don't really do the backstabbing, the back talking, and all that type of stuff. That's not who I am. If I did have a problem with a person, I'll bring it to them, talk to them. Hell, when I went to Howard and ended up getting into my little situation at Howard, before any of it popped off, I went right to the person and said, listen, do we have a problem? Because if we do, we could talk about it. We could have that conversation, whether that conversation meant having the conversation or having a physical conversation. And the whole thing, ended up going somewhere where it shouldn't have. But at the end of the day, I tried to talk about the situation at first, and whatever. But
no,
it's about
everything is related. Trust me. I was talking to Diana's son, Diana Morales' son, the other day, and he was telling me about his connections with Junior, Fred Hampton Jr.
Oh, okay,
He's working with him, and then lo and behold, I was looking at Austin Weekly. We just got it yesterday. They got Fred Hampton Jr. in there in front of his house.
Yeah,
talking about what went down, and they had some vandalism and some things like that. Yeah. He had just told me the same thing, but his relationship with him, and I know some people that's that's doing something with Fred Hampton Jr. also. It brought me into a perspective of where his head is at.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is related, man. And best thing, like we say, your first impression could be your last or your best, and that's where you always want to be.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I got relationships with people that go back 40 years, and it's not just one or two. It's a lot of people. It's all about communicating, how you treat somebody, how you can help somebody. Again, my biggest motto is, know your neighbor, because one day your neighbor may need you.
Yeah.
And hopefully that's the same way they're thinking about me.
Right.
Maybe I can help Steve one day. Anybody else with any relationship?
Yeah, I think we cut Barry off. I know Barry. I don't know is he still on?
No, I don't think that's him.
Oh, okay.
He's not.
I know we had cut him off.
But anyone else have any comments or perspective on relationships? Because right now, I really think there's some big voids in relationships. Whether it be community, whether it be politics, whether it be significant others, family, and the like.
Yeah, it seems to me that the culture is tearing us apart rather than building relationships. It's increasing isolation. It's creating all kinds of fear.
I got mute.
Yeah, we're trying to cut it down now. Super loud.
Yeah, I got to mute all so we can There we go. Okay, now Barry, you can come in. Go ahead, Barry. You got to unmute now yourself.
What I was saying is that the culture is, there's a lot of discouragement of people relating to each other. tremendous amount of publicity that the shootings get, and the killings, and all kinds of stories that get floated that frighten people, and have, and that's, combined with all, the media telling us, like this COVID situation. I was talking to my cousin a couple of hours ago. He's in Switzerland, and asked him whether the COVID situation is as politicized as it is here. And he said no. It's not happening in Switzerland where he is, nor Germany, France. It's just not politicized. There are differences of point of view, but it's not politicized. And the politics just tears people apart.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
But we don't, so I think it's part of what we're trying to do is to overcome the messages that are constantly poured in from the outside.
Yeah. Yeah. Diana you about to say something, Diana?
Yeah, good points there. I just want to remark on that. That was really thoughtful. I guess, kind of going on that, along that same vein, when we talk about the violence that we see, and people come, and you want people to come together to work against that violence, to be able to make a difference and change things. And for whatever reasons, I don't want to think about the politics of the situation, because you have people who got voted into office, and office is where they want to stay, and so they'll walk that real fine line in order to appease both extremes. And because of that, they don't do anything, so we continue along this road where it's kind of stuff. And yet, when we try to do something about it, people will still be like, oh, I'm a Christian, I'm a Catholic, or I'm black and I'm white, or I'm a pro-lifer and I'm a pro-choice. I mean, the things that separate people are just numerous, and people choose to take those sides anyway in this climate today, and suffer. It's like what does DeAndre say? It was last week or a week ago. Like, I'm drowning, but if another person throws me the little life
preserver.
Yeah, what color it is. Yeah, but it seems like that we choose to stay in our own little camp and suffer, and be miserable when okay, I'm gonna date myself here, and I know that it's people, it's the power of the people that change things,
Right.
People today, they saw some of that. They saw that with George Floyd. That was people.
Yeah.
People said, I'm not anybody except somebody who knows that this is wrong. And when they all united on that one thought, it didn't matter if you were short, tall, fat, skinny, black, white, Catholic, Protestant, whatever. Everybody agreed that was wrong, and that's where we got justice and where we hope to make change. So I just want to, I guess, wrap up by saying that relationships are lacking simply because we choose to stay in our own camps.
So The only difficulty for me is in understanding though that everybody is gonna be different. They are gonna have a different mindset. And I think and that's okay, so long as that I think the one thing that we got to realize is that there's only really one race above all, which is the human race. But that's where we get lost at, not understanding that we're all humans and have to share this space together. So we need to figure out a mode of compromise, no matter what the idea is. A mode of compromise has to happen so that each individual within their own right of however they want to live, so long as it doesn't cause harms to another person's, what I'm saying, living, so to speak. I think that's what we got to get to, But I see it's going to be extremely difficult to really get, so many different people in one space, and to hope that all of these people go along one accord, because everything you just mentioned, man, is so divisive, But
look at how it all fell apart. People came together, and it was horrible. But that all fell apart when it came to the injustice that was done to George Floyd. You saw all kind of people out there.
Yeah. I admit that. Other than 9/11, that was another show of why you should be proud to be an American. When blatant injustice is shown and everybody come together, don't matter what the color is, they all come together and say, "Nah, this ain't it. This ain't okay. This man can't sit here and kneel on another human being's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds." And that's how everybody felt. Everybody really felt that way. There's no way that another human being should be treated this way.
And I think that's because they saw themselves. When people saw that happen to George Floyd, I think they kind of said, I'm George Floyd. I could be that person, And that's what we kind of get away from, because we tend not to see ourselves in anyone else. We say their plight is their plight, and my plight is what my plight is. But it's not really true, because I had this brief conversation with my cousin. I'm like, in a minute, we're going to be talking about how we are so different from each other, because they're already talking about going to other planets, and they're already building the devices to get to these planets. And once they get to these planets, you're going to have Earth and the people that are, or the beings that are on these other planets, which hopefully they just maybe other Earthmen. But it's already in play. It's in play with the building of all these space stations and the shuttles that taking all these.
But unless they figure out how to cryogenically freeze themselves and wake themselves up at 30 in a whole nother on a whole nother terrestrial planet, none of it matters, because it doesn't matter for where we at right now. But it's happening. They're definitely colonizing other planets. They continuously are finding other ways of other modes of living, which is, I think that's just going to happen, period. I mean, as we continue to advance as a society, we want to explore what's above and below. I'm more curious about the below, because for whatever reason, we just don't want to go into the sea. We're going to go all into outer space, and all the stuff in the sea is where my curiosity is. So if I had the billions of dollars, I'm going down there. That's what I would do, but for whatever reason, they want to go up, so.
Because our relationship to the sea is we can't breathe in it.
Right. It's heavy under that. Real heavy under that.
As if we could breathe in outer space without devices.
Right. That's a fact. But yeah, I don't know. I just think, knowing that, none of us will be around to see the how you call it, the after effects, so to speak, of going to space. That I don't even think about that much.
Yeah, it is what it is. People will be living in and outer space to get to the next space station.
We will be living
then reproducing outer space to get to the next space station, and then reproducing that space station. It's gonna be.
Oh, that's for sure.
till they get to where they're trying to get. Because the space shuttle, that's all it is. It's a big freight truck. You know, taking equipment to build to get to build a bridge.
Right. Yep.
Well,
But
at this time, no one can reproduce in outer space, in space, because there's no gravity, and so the human body or any kind of embryo doesn't form properly because they can't reproduce gravity. So the body that developed during gestation does not develop properly.
oh,
You get all kinds of weird outcomes.
so okay, so even like test tubes and all that.
Yeah. So after, as it's forming, I'm not saying it's with humans,
Mhm.
but as they try to reproduce creatures, the lack of gravity doesn't allow for the formation of the muscle, and bone, and tissue to be oriented right.
Wow.
Correctly.
Wow.
But Diana's voice is not clear.
Oh, I'm sorry. She said your voice is not clear, Diana.
Sorry.
Is that better, Barry? Go ahead, Diana. Speak. Can you speak again, Diana?
Oh yeah. So because
It's not clear.
Still not clear. Hold on.
Well, then just tell them what I said.
Diana said that due to the anti-gravity in space, or the lack of gravity in space, it's not, humans can't actually conceive in that atmosphere.
No, they can conceive, they just can't gestate. The embryo can't gestate properly and form properly.
Mm. Wow. Never knew that. But knowing the powers that be, the billionaires, they'll figure out something.
Oh, they got to. Man, that's the real mile high right there. In space? Oh, yeah. That's the real mile high.
He's a mile high.
For real. But
It's too strange that they would spend so much money to try to do that when it's just simply easier to correct what they've done here.
Yeah.
man, yeah, I mean,
Same thing with England.
yeah.
They could have tried to make it work in England before they came here. But, somebody got some bright idea.
Yeah.
You got to get away. You got to do something different. But anybody else? Go ahead.
What Diana said, that made me think about, the whole conversation, I guess your loyalty to ideas, concepts, or whatever. So, I want to add. Well, this relates to the space conversation too, because they're loyal to that concept of going to space. So if that's what they're into, that's what they're loyal to, forget everybody else. Forget about making changes here. We don't go to space.
Right.
So what do we do when, and this could relate to regular relationships, man and wife, relationships in the community. What do we do when we're more loyal to our ideas or our concepts than we are to our neighbors? And how do you all think it got like that?
Well, because everybody was tribal, Everybody tried to go to the neighborhoods where their tribe was at. But that's just not how it's working anymore, And there's been a big disenfranchised scenario or situation where all, Black people are been disenfranchised. Spanish people are being disenfranchised. There are a lot of communities that are being disenfranchised. And then they tend to come up with their own ideologies. Look, again, when we first started the show, we started out with why do young people and old people not come together or think different? We started with that. That's a whole nother group. But it all comes from the pulling apart and the groups not knowing that they're stronger and better working together. You know, that's a very good question, especially on the blocks, man. Because for almost 30 years with me, the only thing that's keeping Northwest Austin as Northwest Austin is that we still have the same loyal older people. They might have been they might have been 45, 55 back then, and now they're 75, 85 now, you know.
Yes, but also speaking to that makes me think that, but a lot of them remember when CETA program was here and some of those other programs that was running outside the building, and you guys helped them at that time too. So that goes back to my earlier, you know, question was, is it more about what you do for a person or how you make them feel? You know what I'm saying? And your response was, they're intertwined, which I do think if you were to ask those individuals who got that help from you all, number one, they remember that act. But then two, obviously it helped them in some way, which made them feel better in that sense. So I'm sure that feeling is also resonating with them too, which keeps them the memory of this place for them, in a positive light, and makes them remember it too.
I never forget when I first came to Northwest Austin Council. I was, like I said, it might have been 2 years after, maybe 26, 27. And Ms. Spann, which was president at the time, she said, Steve, you see Mr. Jones over there? He needs a garbage can. And I'm like, why are we worried about a garbage can for him? We don't do garbage cans. She's like, but we do know the ward super. We can get him the garbage can. She said, but one thing I can guarantee you, if we give Mr. Jones that garbage can, he's going to be a member and a friend of Northwest Austin Council for life because people value those garbage cans. And true enough, it was what it was. It actually transitioned to being what she said. And people want things. I get calls. I had a lady call me yesterday about doing line dance classes. She's like, you guys, I've been over there. I want to come and I got a big line dance group. I want to know if we can do line dances over there. And can we do this day, and this? And I'm like, I ain't heard from you in years, but it's good to know you still remember us. And let's see where we're at. That's all I can tell her. Let's see where we're at. Because again, that goes to the time issue, what you said earlier. Are we still relative to each other? Because where have you been? I haven't heard from you in 7, 8, 10 years. Now you're talking about something you need and you want, which I don't mind obliging and helping you, but how are you going to help me help somebody else or help me? We got to get into that mode also.
I'd like to reply to what Raheem had said about being more loyal to an idea than to your neighbors. Seems to me that a lot of people were inspired by Martin Luther King and the civil rights movement. And that was a long time ago. And that more recently, some people got very inspired by the idea of what's in it for me. And I think that's the idea that has been on the front burner since Reagan till Biden. So almost till now, and it's still going on in the Republican Party. And I think that idea is we need something to mobilize people. We need a story like the Peacebrook story or something that will hold people together, because the idea of what's in it for me is where the powerful in our culture are.
Yeah.
And it's tearing us apart. And the powerful, it's in their interest for us to squabble. about it doesn't matter what, and to fight with one another. Whether it's about race or gender or doesn't really matter what it is, as long as we keep squabbling, then the powerful can get this all that they could dream of.
You know what, Barry? Let me say this. You're absolutely right. Even our higher learning institutions, they teach that. The first time I heard of what's in it for me, I heard it in my grad school from a grad school professor, and we were going over something, and I forgot what it was. I think it was a vendor customer relationship class I had, and he was like, you got to tell whoever you're dealing with, that you subscribe to WIFM. What's in it for me? That's your radio station. And I'm like, wow, that's what we doing in grad school? Teaching people to be all about themselves? But
I mean, but that goes back to the idea that if you in the plane, you got to put your mask on first. So it's just like there is no place for you to take from somebody else or to not be able to share, right? I don't think this world is large enough with enough resources that God gave us where every man can have a piece and there still be some left over. So that is very true. So each man can get what's coming to him and there still be some left over. It's just that more people have adopted the idea that they have to get because now they're competing with others that have, right? And it's like going back to the Jeff Bezos thing. Jeff Bezos wasn't talking about going to space. Jeff Bezos just wanted to create a library for people where they could go find books and buy books, right? Then at some point it became about space. It only became about space when he became a billionaire and his billionaire buddies was talking about going to space. So now he got to compete with them. And it's the same thing with other people that get money. Once you get into that space where other people are talking about money and you got a yacht, but they got a super yacht. And then the next man got a mega yacht. And then the next man got a mega. You know what I'm saying? You like, damn, I gotta. So it's always. I think that's innate in people, humans, is to compete with one another. That is not going to change. It don't matter what political party you belong to, because now they compete with each other and they're gonna pit. So humans are gonna be pit against one another in the spirit of competition, just because. That's just we're animals innately. And we are going to always go back to our prehistoric nature whenever we're confronted with there's only one piece in front of us and somebody has to have it. We got to fight for it.
Why not poll everybody on this call about what they believe?
Go ahead. They should. They should definitely. Everybody can chime in. You know how this goes. Please jump in.
So the question is, do you believe what's the question, Barry?
The question is, are you trying to get as much as you can because you're competing, or is it that's not your prime motivation? Well, isn't there a hierarchy of needs that says at the top you have to give? Isn't that what we're going toward?
I don't know.
Where the top of the hierarchy of needs is nirvana. You're in heaven.
It's
you're enlightened. And near the bottom is survival. Right. Okay. But at the top, you're supposed to share.
I don't forget what it's called.
Where does it come from?
Yeah, I believe that.
Hierarchy of needs.
Well, that's just what I think about that. How about the others?
So
I think. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Ron.
I think when the white man created the concept of ownership, that kind of threw everything in a loop. And but before that, people. I don't think it was about greed. It was about community.
Self-actualization.
Like if I know how to build houses, and you know how to build
dams.
Right. You knew how to make clothes.
You know how to farm and all that.
Right.
I will build you a house. You will build me a garden. Things like that. But then when the idea of ownership came, like this is my land, this is my house, this is my garden, that messed up everything, man. So now we're trying to get it. That's what we own now.
And what's your personal? Where are you personally?
You asking me?
Yes.
What do you mean?
Do you?
Do you think that given our current circumstances that it's competition to get the most you can, or do you think something else?
Yeah. The capitalism breeds competitors.
Mm-hmm.
Living in this system, it makes us compete against each other. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
Wherever there's competition, I don't know if there could really be true love, in that relationship. Yeah, I feel that way.
Are you competing within your family and within your neighborhood or your community or
like between spouses compete, children compete against each other. You can compete with your neighbor, like who has the best car.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like that. People compete all the time.
They call that keeping up with the Joneses. That's why they call it keeping up with the Joneses, because people are looking at.
Exactly.
I said, listen. I said the reason why crime is high the way it is in our community is because it's not because poor people are taking from other poor people. Poor people are taking from people that they believe have something. You know what I'm saying? So our like the competition that's created in our community amongst the have and have nots, and it's like the haves don't even have that much, but they got more than the next person. So people are not staking out the person in the beat down car. They staking out the person where there's a line of beat down cars, and this person is driving a 2021. He got something in his pocket. I need what he got. You know what I'm saying? And so that's the thing about that. That's why I feel like there's so much, like even poverty. There's a competition based on poverty. Huh?
Say again?
I said it froze up.
Hello?
Oh, I think it's jumping back in. Yo.
So what you said? With enough resources, that's going out.
Oh, yeah, you know what? To me, we had a little outage real quick, so you're going to have to start it all the way back over.
Say that one more time. Yep.
Yep. Sorry.
Tamika?
Is it study?
You're muted.
Oh,
you got to unmute.
Okay, hold on. Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry about that.
Say again, Tamika, real quick.
What I said is that when you are a kind of a person, people have to take your honestly.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
You not to be able to have resources to help the world because this other person has drained their resources, which is unfair. If you're willing to help them, you're hoping that they're understanding that they're willing to help, even to help others, not just that person.
If I can say, I found that givers have to set limits. Because takers don't have those limits. Just take as long as you can give.
Yeah.
That's what I found.
Great point.
So you put limits on pay? Yeah, I do. I do. I do. I give until I feel I feel some milk, and I don't do it anymore. Not in a mean way, but I don't do it. Yeah. I think we all do. Yeah.
Wisdom, that's it.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. I think, Raheem, we were talking about this a little bit on your program a week ago when you asked about when kids are younger and if a kid takes the other kid's lunch or something, and what would you do? And I'm like, man, if I had enough, they wouldn't have to take it. I'll give them, as much as they need. I'll bring some more the next day, so that they could understand you don't have to take this. But and I did even go into the fact that at a certain point they're gonna have to take an ass whooping if they keep doing it to the point of of being bullying the situation. But
I was always taught the golden rule: you put your hands on me, you're gonna take them off. That was the golden rule in my family.
That's called the golden glove.
You put your hands on me, you go have to take them off.
That's the golden glove, man. Boxing.
Nah, man, but I do think, but seriously though, it's just the unfortunate is, like Raheem said, that capitalism breeds competition. I do feel though that we can't compete with each other in meaningful ways, right? Like I always would say that essentially between my brothers and I, there's like unspoken competition, but it's for betterment though, right? So if my brother loses 100 pounds, now I got to keep up with him. I got to lose 101. You feel me? But we become better for that. If my brother gets a job and he's making $80,000 a year, I got to go find one making 85. And I'm just saying, and the only reason I look at it that way is because, again, competition is innate, but it's not. I'm not doing it to the detriment. Like I'll big up in my brother, like, bro, you making 80? Okay, bet. Watch this. Now, if I make 85, my hope is that I got to go get 90 because bro on my heels now. And as we keep doing, and I think if we looked at competition in a meaningful way like that, we could really build with one another. Like, example, community-wise, let's say community-based organization A said, we want to serve 100 people, and community organization B said, we want to serve 105. And so we just kept going back and forth between, up in numbers to serve. At the end of the day, we competing, but people getting served around this joint. Now everybody is being helped. And only because our greedy thoughts about competing with one another and reaching people took precedence over, us wanting to be to keep it within the bounds, so to speak. And I just think competition can be refreshing if used that way.
Mm.
Right.
That's what happens. That's what they're doing with the baseball. All the sports leagues that they're doing on the west side. That's great stuff.
Right.
But it seems to me you can get sucked into a competition that you can't win. Like if you go out to Las Vegas and you think you're going out there to make your bread and butter, you can keep competing, but you can't win against the house.
No, you ain't gonna beat the house.
No.
Right. So what I'm saying is you have to know when to compete. And there is it seems to me that there's enough bad stuff where we're competing, fighting each other. My side makes more sense than your side. So we squabble. Like the Israelis and the Palestinians, endless arguments, and they can't be settled through the two of them together.
Yeah.
So we've got to find ways to build community and the peace that we want and the loving we want without getting sucked into stuff that just undermines us.
Yeah.
So you know what? I had to think about this. Can you have relationships that are not value based, but are just competition based. I mean, you have to have a value based relationship. You can have competition within that, but you got to have a value based relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And for example, the Republicans and the Democrats, I mean, to have arguments about that, to me, doesn't make sense because it's set up for us, neither side to win.
Yeah.
And to me, to me personally, the Republican proposition is horrific. What they're asking. And so I'm not interested in arguing with anybody about it. I just, I don't want to waste my time. I just don't want to see the Republican point of view prevail because it's just too dangerous.
Right. Well, that's only the part. That's
other situations like that that just make no sense to try to compete in.
But see, I think, and again, but that's where you'd be wrong at, because just if a person presents themselves, well, I'm Republican, well, I don't want to talk to you. That don't mean that person all the way far right and consider themselves all the way in alignment with the party, because at the same time, the same can be said for the Democrats. And there are far leftists on the Democrats too, and you could call them Antifa. And these people have been coming into the community and causing major destruction. So it's just like that argument, and that's where the division comes in. Because if you once you start to say I'm just this party, I don't want to hear nothing else from that side. It's like you done already closed off communication.
Yeah, I am closing the communication about that part, but that doesn't mean I wouldn't talk to a Republican. I just wouldn't talk with them about anything that's in the news headlines, because it's designed for us to waste their time, to be engaged in a tug of war that neither side can win.
Can I jump in here?
Go ahead, jump in, Dan.
Thanks. So it's interesting. We're all talking about relationship, and we're talking about things that divide us and competition and so forth. The things that fracture relationship, and it's just as I'm listening to this, I'm wondering. No one has mentioned, the real state of who man is, who we really are. And I guess if we come to that point that man by nature, we're all the things that we don't like, greedy, selfish, angry, vengeful, prideful, all of these things are in our human nature.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Not one of us skips that,
Mm-hmm.
But there's also, the other part that is compassionate and can do good, Unfortunately, we tend easily to lean towards the me side, And so there's really no hope of people coming together peacefully, surrendering their own, greed or self-interest for the benefit of all, until, they come to realize just who they basically are, who we all basically are. And then work toward a common good with a higher goal, that's real biblical, that's Christ, that's God. And we stand here, we're having this conversation, and we could just look to some churches and see that played out, And I guess, it's what we all want to see. If we don't want to see the church, we turn our head away. But really, there's an example of what we're trying to achieve, at least in my own opinion, my own opinion. That's how I feel about it. That we should be looking to those who are looking to set the example and they're not only talking the talk, they're walking the walk. And so I think it might do the whole city a little good to take a look that way and say, maybe I don't believe everything they believe, but at least let me try to understand and do some of these things.
You mentioned churches, but isn't there competition between churches, amongst churches?
No, there shouldn't be.
Yeah, but there is.
I don't know what you mean by doing competition. Competition for dollars, competition for attendance, both.
I think attendance kind of translated to dollars. I think that could be.
Well, not every church is run by a godly man. Let's not pretend there's not
That's true.
clothing up there. Any pastor that holds up a wallet and says, just name it and claim it. Say money, 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 jump in my wallet. Yeah, that's a place I want to walk away from, Jesus says, foxes have holes and birds have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. That's the guy I want to follow because that's the guy who's not looking to stuff both sides of his pockets.
I hear you.
Just food for thought, if we're looking for examples, it's a good place to start.
Well, again, we're speaking about relationships. There's multifaceted. There's when we started off, we said there's community relationships, there's family relationships, there's political relationships, there are significant other relationships. And I think the root starts with family. If there's dysfunction, it can translate and move out into the other areas.
I think it started even before that. It started with family until you get to a certain age, but then it started with the relationship you have with yourself. That's one we ain't even talked about yet.
Right.
What kind of relationship do you have with you, right? Like, how are your thoughts? How are your actions? How are your beliefs? Like, are they even in alignment with who you even want to show up in the world as? Do you show up in the world as the person that you think you show up as? And that I think that matters. And right. Not always, right? Big, huge cognitive dissonance right there between, sometimes who we want to show up as and who we truly show up as. And that relationship itself lends itself to a lot of problems in our communities too, because when you don't show up as the person that you want to show up as, and other people take notice, then that's when they start to really look at you in a different light too, which makes it hard to forge those relationships you're looking for. So I think that matters.
Yeah. One's self-relationship with one's inner space, inner thoughts.
Don't we all want to show up as the best we could possibly be in thoughts or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know I do.
Yeah.
Can I say something? They have something called Johari's window.
Jahari window, yes sir. Yep.
Right, you get to that one?
Oh yeah, well I'm a psychologist, so I'm already into that. That's one of the assessments we use to help people as they examine themselves, obviously. But you can go ahead and explain it.
Break it down, Tiny.
Well, no. If you know about it, explain it. You better than me.
Yeah, well, like I say, it's basically a window that gives a self-assessment where there's 4 parts like a window pane, and it basically talks about who you are, what are you showing up as, what would you like to show up as, and like how do you think other people see you, what do they see you as, right? So it's these different parts that are you're trying to find alignment with yourself. That's all.
Right. So we're projecting something, but we don't know what the people are seeing that we project. Right. Okay.
Do any of us really know? Like knowing somebody's heart, right? How DeAndre actually sees me, or I see, anyone else. Do any of us really know?
No, not really. Not really. But I think what you could do, in theory, you could always write it down what you think a person look at you as, and then just ask them. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'll say this, right? I just asked. This was a random question that I asked my lady the other day. I was like, man, if you had to pick 3 celebrities to say that I made up, that that I represent, what 3 celebrities would they be? Here, I'm thinking she's gonna say something totally different than what she said. so like that's good practice, right? And so then she ended up flipping it on me. Well, what 3 celebrities would you say I was? You know what I'm saying? Thinking about but one of the things, like, for instance, she said I reminded her of Marlon Wayans, because she said I do funny stuff like with my whole body and all this other stuff. And then she said Dave Chappelle, because I'm fake deep. And she said my man's that was Aquaman, because we got the same eyebrows and it looked like we could eat people. So I was like, what? What? You know what I'm saying? Like, what? But and so you never know. You really never know.
But you know what's weird? They've always said with children, if you keep telling the kid you're bad,
Yeah.
the kid believes that they're bad. And they don't know. They may see themselves in a totally different way until you project this upon them. I mean, for me, people have been saying for the last 5 years, Steve, you're the connector. I'm like, the connector? I don't play with Legos. I'm like, what do you mean? And then I start thinking about it. I'm like, well, why do they say that? Oh, because you tied me to this person, and you tied me to that. You tied, and then I'm like, I never looked at myself as a connector. So there is some validity behind that. What we were just saying. How about yourself, Tiny?
Yes, sir.
How would you give me 3? How do you just say celebrities?
Yeah,
3 celebrities I remind you of.
That you remind me of?
Yeah.
LL Cool J. Let me see. Anthony Anderson. And I can't think of enough.
That's cool. I hear you. I heard that. I've heard the Will Smith one. But
Will Smith?
Yeah.
I was just gonna say that.
Yeah, I've heard the Will Smith one since I was younger. Probably 30 years ago, that one. But that's interesting. How people see you.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's just good. It's just good practice sometimes, just to ask. You know what I'm saying? Why not? Because again, you may think that you're showing up in one way, and you just like, no, that's not. I totally don't see you that way. Like, as an example, I would all in college, because I was always that guy that was from the hood, so to speak. I dressed a certain way. I talked a certain way. All the people, I'd be like, man, they didn't want to talk to me because I was from the hood. They was like, nah, we were just kind of intimidated because you're so smart. Like, what? I thought it was something totally different. So you never know. They're like, nah, man, come on, man, you know all this shit. Like, we go to you for answers.
Wow.
Oh, well, damn, I never thought about it like that, so.
Hey, D.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you asked that question, man. I was thinking about, you remind me of like all Ice Cube characters. You Ice Cube and High Learner. Ice Cube and Boys in the Hood.
Facts.
And Ice Cube and Army.
Oh, we there? Yeah. Yeah.
You know who Joey Jackson is?
No.
He's a smart guy.
Joey Jackson. I gotta look him up.
He's on CNN, and he is a defense attorney. And he's pretty, he's very smart,
Mm.
and he talks fast to get his point across.
Oh yeah, I just looked this guy up. I see what you're saying.
Check him out. I like
That's what's up. Yeah, I'm about to look at the videos or something. But yeah, man, I think that's a cool little activity, man. One day we should all just do that. One day, just like, man, 3 celebrities or something, whatever.
Yeah, I mean it's an evolutionary thing.
What also do it sometimes is ask people to say something good about themselves.
That is true too.
People say something.
That is very true. That is very true. That is very true. That's a really good one.
Yeah.
Okay, start it off, DeAndre.
Say something about myself. Look, right off top, I'm resilient. I done bounced back through a lot, you know what I'm saying? And I continue to bounce back. And in the face of all that could go wrong, I'm always like, man, look, we gonna figure it out. I'm very resilient for sure. Steve?
I guess I'm very caring. I like helping people. That would definitely be something.
Diana, we got to go around the whole table now.
Yeah.
Diana.
That's it, yeah. I don't give up.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's very true. That's very true. Who we got over there? Raheem.
I'm open-minded.
Mm-hmm. Tiny.
I'm a giving person.
Barry.
Perseverance, learning, and when I become fastened on something, I just keep going.
Facts. That's a fact, though. And I can't see the rest of the faces. I don't know who else is. I can't see the rest of the faces.
You know, like somebody else says, what I really am, I never give up.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
There you go.
Yeah. I think we all got a lot of that in us. But one thing I'm gonna tell you, if I ever do, well, I have been in situations where I've done some heroic things. But you notice I know on TV when people are heroes, they always say, "Oh no, don't call me a hero." That's gonna be some bullshit when it come to me, because I'm gonna be like, "Yeah, my name's Steve. I got an S on my chest. I did that." It's the truth. I'm gonna tell you the truth. I ain't gonna try to, because it looks so melodramatic when people, "No, I'm not a hero." You did just say that, baby. No, don't call me one. No, yes, I am.
Yeah.
I'm not saying in an egotistical way, but I'm gonna be like, yeah, it was very heroic, but I wasn't thinking about being a hero. But
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. It is difficult. That goes back to. Yeah, I can't see the other people.
Tamika.
I think Barry. Can you see who else is on there?
For Tamika,
Oh, okay.
I am loving and appreciative. I try not to support the small stuff.
Facts. Facts, though.
Yeah. How about?
I can't see who is on
Gary
there.
is muted, and I think he's talking.
Alma.
Oh.
No, that's Alan. That's Tiny. Who else is on there?
Alma, Ella Houston,
Yes.
Edie Jacobs.
Oh, Ella.
Go ahead. That's the question
Ella.
to Ella.
Ella, tell us one good thing about yourself.
I'm loyal.
Oh, that's the one.
Yeah,
Nice.
that's for sure. For sure.
And he's Miss Jacobs. Miss Jacobs.
Can you hear us, Miss J?
She is.
Yeah, she's probably muted.
Yeah.
Gotta unmute
Stepped
Miss
away
J.
or something like
Yeah.
that.
So it is star 6.
I can unmute her. Hold on. Let me get her. 1 second. Yeah, it's very interesting how that works.
Alma.
Hey everyone, I guess I can say
Oh, Alma.
I'm a brutally honest person.
Brutally honest.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. If people that can brutally take the honesty.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I was just gonna say
Some
that.
people can't take the brutal.
Well, that can hurt me probably, but I'd rather be honest.
Yeah. As I hear you. Anybody else? Well, my man, the Sauce Pack in on there today.
Nah, he was on there earlier.
What Mosaic at?
He was on there earlier too. They jumped off. Yeah, them boys jumped off.
No, self-assessments are good things. I never thought about that. We always talk about relationships. Well, we were talking about relationships, but we always speak of relationships, but we never think of it from the aspect of one's relationship with oneself. How do you see yourself? How do you feel about yourself? What do you think others think of yourself in the relationship with yourself?
So one of the things that I do at home is I subconsciously program myself. So if you came into my spot, like all throughout the crib, I done put different little sayings, especially in my bathroom. I got affirmations all over my walls, but I framed them though. I put them in picture frames. So and I don't look at them, but I mean, well, I do and I don't, because obviously, like, my eye is gonna catch them. So some of them I can look up and read, but the rest of them only, that subconscious mind. And then I did the same thing with other pictures that's in my front area, and the same thing in like my office area. I made sure that I subliminally program myself in every part of the crib so that I feel good about who I am.
Do you think that could work for the public, the general public, if we had like large words that depicted good things?
Yeah,
that they would pick up on. But
you got to be you inundated with it,
Yeah,
but subconsciously though, because sometimes you can't just outright put something in front of a person's face and expect them to go along with whatever that thing is. But if you subconsciously do it, where it's eye catching enough, where it continues to play in their mind, and they just start thinking like, hey, well, like.
Right. Well, I will give you a good example. Raheem and I, we're in this thing called Leadership Lab, and one of the instructors said that he tends to tell himself, and he tells his little boy every morning, choose joy.
Mm-hmm.
Through all opposition, choose joy. And I'm like, huh? If you're going to choose anything, choose joy.
Yeah. Yep.
Miss Larson?
Is that choose doing or choose joy?
Joy, Joy. Just
joy.
Yeah, like, if you come into a room, and, try to present yourself in a joyful manner, or because that bleeds off into other people,
And it's like if we use those positive affirmations out in society, sometimes people are in search of an answer, and believe it or not, that can pop out of nowhere and give you the answer that you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
But the world, in my opinion, the world gives you what you need if you know how to follow it.
Right.
That's a fact. I said a couple of shows ago, like, the thing, I always ask God to order my steps. You know what I mean? I don't know where I'm going. I don't know where I'm supposed to be. But my belief is that wherever I am is where I'm supposed to be, so to speak. And whatever I need in that moment will be there for me, because I'm just following the orders of, the person that gave me breath of life, so to speak. At least that's how I believe it to be, So, I think nothing is by chance. Everything is by choice, right? Like, you can either be in that situation or in another, but based off the decision you make. Like life is like a choose your own ending goosebump story. You know what I'm saying? For me, that's how I feel about it. Like, You know what I mean? But at the same time, though, wherever you're supposed to be is where you're supposed to be because, it's in some people's belief, the story is already written, and in other people's belief, the story that's written is the day that you're born and the day that you die, and the dash is what you fill in. You write the dash. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like,
Don't forget, choose joy. You can do anything, even in the deepest sorrow, most sorrowful moment. Choose joy, and I think there's a lot of validity to that. But I was just asking DeAndre, would it be possible if we would do murals that just had words of affirmation? But I think what really triggers it more, it's not just the words, but you gotta have pictures.
yeah,
I think pictures,
I think pictures,
they send a bigger message, and then you follow it up with the word. Because colors and descriptions of things and shapes, they form the mind.
They do. And I mean, in fact, our mind is gonna feel it in. You know what I'm saying? That's what it is. That's why I like one of the things that I really like is like those wordles. It's called Wordle, where you take a bunch of words and then you throw it into a generator, and then all the words are just kind of all over the place, and they might be spelling out something, and so your eyes are gonna catch some word on there. And so if you put a bunch of positive words, whether that's like I would love. In fact, we talking murals. I would love to see a mural like that made out of a Wordle that got a bunch of like powerful words on it.
Right.
A big mural like that.
Right.
Who like wherever anybody walking past, something gonna catch they. You know what I'm saying? And that's typically what they say is like the things that's most pressing on your mind, whatever you might need, might be the 3 words that pop right out at you when you look at it. I would love to see something like that in the community.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good start. That's a good start to build relationships. Maybe bring it around to something that's centered in an area where people can share it. And hopefully joy is involved in it because the alternative is not that good. It's really not. It's really not that good. And we trying to stay on a positive note with the things that we're talking about. But I do have to share this because I got a word this morning from police officer that there was a shooting on Mason and North Avenue, 1 killed and 1 shot. And I drove by there Friday because I was like, why are these people hanging out over here? And I guess it's a party spot or something that was opened up, and they've been having a lot of problems on North Avenue with 3 different party spots that they've been chasing, and they pop up and they could disappear.
Yeah.
And back to Barry's issue, what he was saying that a lot of these crimes are done by 10 to 14-year-olds. There was a 10-year-old, a 14-year-old, something, I think it was, that did a carjacking in Austin the other day. And then there was a carjacking right down the street with a 26-year-old off Division and Menard. That was the other day. But, that's just FYI for people in the community. And we can segue back into the positive.
Yeah. But, well, speaking of that, we're about to get ready to wrap up anyway.
Yeah.
As we typically do, though, we like to leave out with everybody leaving the lasting thought, a final word. Been a good conversation about relationships, and all this time you all spent with us was a big relationship building process. So we appreciate you all for it. For everybody that's listening in, we do this every Sunday from 6 to 8. And you can catch us on various media, whichever one that makes the most sense for you. That's YouTube, Facebook, like, subscribe, comment. That's how you interact with the show. Zoom, we have that capability as well so that you can listen in. And, all we're looking for is to continue to grow. We get more community members involved. We hear the thoughts, hearts, and minds of everybody in our community. And we just continue developing it because that's ultimately what we're here for. And so I'm gonna start with the Zoom, and I'll start with you, Barry. You got to unmute yourself if you're on the Zoom.
That's
and
right.
just give us a last thought, man. Let's just go around the table. What's up?
Well, given what I said earlier about myself, my last word is Peacebrook. Peacebrook, the new story of the West Side, people coming together, helping each other, and growing a thriving community. And Peacebrook already exists. We just Peacebrook is just the adjective, the way of describing what already exists, the good stuff that already exists.
Thank you, Barry. Peace, Brooke.
Right.
I'll go with, I don't know if Miss Jacobs is there. Miss Jacobs? All right, so yeah, Miss Jacobs probably. Ella, Miss Houston?
Yeah.
What's up? What you want to leave us with? How you want to depart?
Well, I don't know.
What's on your heart then? All right.
There you go.
Peace, love. What you say? Peace, love, and soul. Soul train. What you say?
Safety. Be safe.
Peace,
Yeah.
love, and safety. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Raheem. Wait. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, great show, fellas. I really had a good time. I enjoyed myself. A great conversation, everybody. I guess my last thing, words. You pretty much summed it up, man, a couple of minutes ago, saying that when you talked about understanding yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like that's what relationships are about, self-discovery.
Mm-hmm. What's
The
that?
only competition is you with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
The only enemy is yourself. So if we're able to, conquer those things, conquer ourselves, we're heading in the right direction.
That's a fact.
So,
That's a fact. No, you're right about that. It makes me think about when people say like, you got to control your own energy, control your emotions, control how you react to others and things like that. Once you really get mastery of self, I think you become the most powerful being that God put you here to be. Seriously. But you got to first learn to master self. And that is something that I am still working on. Who we got? We got Tamika.
Yeah, that's my last word of the day is self-discipline. Like, I try to teach that to my loved ones all the time on every level. Like, discipline is what's important to your life. And making good decisions is what's going to get you further with those two aspects.
All right, self-discipline. So before I changed the way I subliminally program myself, I used to write focus and discipline. Those were the two biggest needs that I had for myself. And so I would post those everywhere throughout this is a few years ago. I'm talking literally every single place in my crib had discipline and focus, because those were the two biggest needs that I had and that I knew I needed to work on towards my journey of self-mastery. So we're in a different place now. I feel like I'm better with discipline and focus. And we got some other things to shore up before we reach full self-mastery. But, we still working. Who else we got there?
Tiny.
Oh, Tiny.
Yes, Diana.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks. I always enjoy talking to people with like minds. And one thing that all the stuff we talk about, relationships, all this, don't mean nothing if you don't do something about climate change.
Yeah.
Climate change.
So it's how we relate to our Mother Earth, huh?
Mother Nature, for sure.
Mother Earth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Diana?
Hey, guys. Appreciation.
Mm-hmm.
Saying that I appreciate conversations like appreciate being invited. Awesome.
Sorry about that. Oh, okay, there we go. Sorry about that. It was a little loud on the Zoom. So we heard you say appreciation, and you were saying, what were you saying after that, Diana? I'm sorry.
Just appreciate being, allowed into the conversation in Austin.
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely.
No doubt.
Listen, we can get more people from Belmont, Craig, and all. They could be anybody could be a part of the conversation because, as you know, obviously we got to change the demographic in the community, and the better relationship that we build with one another, the better the community overall will be. So we it's not too, we are a community now, and we really got to start working. Look, so today I was out at the top of the show. I mentioned we on North Avenue and Central. We were doing the coat, hat, scarf giveaway. We had a bunch of different community members up there, and those community members were black and brown. I think I might have seen one or two white people, but this is community though. And so we got to continue working together to build with one another for sure. So yeah. Oh, Alma, you still on?
She was.
Alma? She might have. I saw a message up there. So that might have been Alma said, I gotta check out, guys. It's after 8 o'clock. It's my bedtime. All right, Steve, what's on you then?
Well, good night.
Right,
for me,
Diana.
it's gonna be like I said. Choose joy. If you can't choose nothing else when you wake up, choose joy.
Sounds good to me.
All right.
Good night, all.
Good night. All right.
God bless everybody.
All right.
Yeah.
God bless y'all.
Oh, yeah,
too.
man. Y'all know for me, well, basically, in closing, like I said, every Sunday, 6 to 8, we do this. You know what I mean? This is
right.
community conversation. West Side people talking West Side things. And there's various ways you can tap in with us. That's the YouTube, that's the Facebook, that's the Zoom. If you're on the Facebook or the YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. That's how you interact with the show. Of course, we can see the comments in real time. And we can even bring you on if you want to come on and you want to talk what you want to talk, because this show is for everybody. We want everybody's opinion included. So we appreciate y'all spending y'all time with us on this Sunday. Like I said, today, I was pretty much just I bounced a couple places. We did a turkey give out with other foods and things like that for the holiday. And then we did the coats, gloves, scarves. There was some diapers and everything. What I say that to say, this is the most important time of the year, man. The time where if we are able to do, we should be doing. That brings me to Raheem. Raheem has an event that's coming up. Oh, let me pull it up. My bad, guys. I wasn't ready.
It's not bad, though. Not bad.
Oh, so it's not Raheem's event, but it's still an event that's in the community. It's in Austin. It's at Michelle Clark, Saturday, November 20th from 11 to 1. So if you're watching it and you can make it, please. And if not, let somebody else know, because this is the opportunity that we have to give back to our community and to give to others that may need it. And so that's kind of how I want to leave it, man. Let's continue to build community. This is the holidays. For those people that we won't see again or we won't talk to until after the happy holidays. And man, for everybody else, just continue to be you, man. Let's grow. Let's continue to do that.
That's right.
And so
building relationships.
Basically, in closing, like I always like to say, man, they did not give us a seat at the table, so we created our own. Thank you for allowing us to welcome you to Northwest Austin Council. Good night.
Good night, all.
Good night.
All right. Good night, y'all.